Yo, what up? It's your boy Steezus. I am here today to answer some Discord questions. We've got a nice plethora of questions I have yet to look at, so should be interesting, but let's get right into it. First up, we got Magic Filmer 90. What is your top 5 pro skater video parts? No order needed. Okay. That is interesting because a lot of the videos that I grew up on, most of my favorites weren't pro. But right off the bat, I mean, I've said it on the experience so many times, my favorite video of all time is Fulfill the Dream. So top 2 are gonna be from that, obviously the Muska and Peter Smollett. Those two, like, I probably burned through that tape well over 500 times front to back, like no exaggeration. And then moving along a little bit later, another one that I really remember burning through has gotta be Stevie Williams and The Reason. That one, that was another moment in time. And then bouncing over to another Transworld video, Mark Johnson, Modus Operandi. And then Day One in Second to None. And not even that, they had a video before that called Deca Sneak Preview, and just remembering all the stuff from that, like it just brought back a wave of like nostalgia for me when he posted something about that, because it took me back to those early years of being a kid growing up. And we would always watch this like just incredible technical skateboarding and then go out and do absolutely none of it because we had no abilities on our skateboard like that. Top 5 pro skater parts: Peter Smollett, Fulfill the Dream; Chad Muska, Fulfill the Dream; Stevie Williams, The Reason; Mark Johnson, Modus Operandi; and Day One Song, Second to None. We got a question from Spotlight Milo. How did you rebuild the confidence to keep pushing limits after a major life experience like your surgery? That is an excellent question, Milo. A back surgery is something that you don't really take lightly, but you also can't prepare yourself for either. So it's a weird balance between those two things. Having back problems since I was probably like 25, it was a long, gradual process. I feel like when I finally needed to get the surgery, it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, because it had been building and building and building for so long. And I was doing things to sort of take care of it the best that I could. When the idea of actually needing surgery came to life, I was scared shitless. Keep it a buck, but I knew that I had, one, done so much research and just done so much on understanding the body and figuring out how to make certain things work within my body to compensate for other areas that were, muscles not firing properly and all that. So I knew what things worked together and how you had to, work on certain areas of your body in order to take off pressure of other parts. So I knew that I was going to be able to do the recovery and do the PT and get back on my feet. I didn't know how long that process was going to take, but I always bet on myself, and I always have the belief that I can do anything, or I can overcome anything no matter what the circumstances are. So it was more a matter of when, not if, as far as the recovery goes. I knew it was going to be a long road, and I knew there was going to be setbacks. You take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and you keep going like that. So I did a lot of that, and it wasn't up until maybe a year ago that I actually got the confidence to not just ride around and push on a skateboard, but actually try tricks. I was hosting something for the barracks, and they needed me to film a couple things around the park and whatnot. And it was such a gnarly mind fuck, because I didn't hurt myself because I was hucking. When I hurt myself to where it was like the last straw, I went to throw my board down and my back just went out. So when you have that in your mind of being spooked on something because it wasn't even like a fault of your own, it was more of a freak accident, like your body just gave out, that was the hardest part for me to overcome. It wasn't about me not feeling like I had the ability to do the tricks on my skateboard. It was about me just getting past that gnarly mental block. So the confidence for that really just came from within me. Like it ain't on you, it's in you. You just gotta have that resilience. And I think as skateboarders, we all have that inside of us regardless. It doesn't matter what it is. That's just one of those life lessons that skateboarding teaches you, is that no matter what the situation is or whatever the the outcome seems to be, we can always push through that and push past it and go well beyond our limits. And I think I just have adopted that mentality in every area of my life. And it's because of skateboarding that I developed that resilience, and just having the mental awareness to take that skill and convert it into other areas of life and use it as a life lesson for everything. That is just something that I will take with me to the grave. So the confidence came from understanding that I, as a human, have the ability to do anything and to overcome anything, and not putting a time limit or a cap on how long that's going to take for me to get to that point. So 5-foot minis scare me. As what pair of shoes do you regret skating in the most? I don't really have any regrets to skating in any of my shoes. The dope thing about skate shoes is that they're meant to be skated. And I'm also someone who, if you have an excess, a surplus of things like I do with shoes, you don't really grow too attached to any specific pair unless they hold some sort of sentimental value. But I would say the only pair of shoes that I regret skating just because I don't have them now, and it's one of my favorite shoes, is the DC Lynx HE. I think I probably honestly skated maybe a dozen pairs of that shoe because I loved it so much, and I had so many different colorways. And I wish I just held on to at least one pair and had them dead stock. Maybe not even to wear, just to have for nostalgic reasons, because that to me is like, that solidified a certain era of my skateboarding and my time of really appreciating footwear and skateboarding footwear, because that was a solid moment in skate shoe history. So I would have to say I don't regret it, but I wish I had a pair of the Lynx HE from DC. T-shirts asked, how many glasses do you own? I swear you're wearing a different one every episode. Well, Mr. Shirts, you're not wrong. I do intentionally swap out my frames every episode. I think right now I probably have about 20 pair. It is intentional though. I do my best. That's something that I just pay attention to, is that I always try and wear a different hat and a different pair of glasses every episode. It's just something that I like and just kind of pay attention to, and it's fun for me. And I don't know, it's just a dope ass accessory if you ask me. Light Out Louisville asks, was there a sign or a moment in your life that happened that sparked your move to California? KC to CA is a bold move. Kudos for going after what you want. There were a couple of moments that I can remember specifically. The first one, and I would say the one that put a battery in my back and sort of gave me the confidence to do it, was getting a tweet from Steve Berra the day after Battle at the Barracks, I want to say 4 finals night. I had developed a relationship with Barris very, very small through Street League, because we had Street League stops in Kansas City, I want to say 2 years back to back. And obviously growing up with Malto and being in that crew, every time people came to KC, they would come kick it with us, and we would show them around, we would hang out, kicking all that. Just through having that relationship, I built so many other relationships with guys in the industry. So I knew Mike Mo from him coming to Kansas City a couple times, and I went and picked him up at the airport. And I told him, I was like, if you make it to Battle at the Barracks final, or no, he had to play Costin to make it to Battle at the Barracks finals that year. And I was like, if you beat Costin, I'll fly out for the week, we'll kick it, we'll party, we'll go to finals, we'll do the whole thing. Like, we just had a relationship like that. So I went and picked him up at the airport, and the first thing he said when he got in the car was, I beat Costin, book your ticket, fucker. So booked the flight and came out to California for Battle at the Barracks, get to finals. I was just doing my best to like volunteer work and like help out and like push things back and get everything just kind of situated. And I knew enough people that it wasn't weird, and it was just me kind of just being there, a part of the situation. I think Barra took heed to that, and he just kind of recognized and understood. And I had also been putting bugs in people's ear that I wanted to move to LA, and I was serious about it. So I was like, just finding different ways to put my name in people's ear. I think Barra had gotten wind of that. So he hit me up on Twitter. He was like, yo, player, I heard you're trying to move to LA. If you're serious, let me know. I got a job for you. I think that's verbatim what the tweet said. And I remember I was at, bro, life is so crazy. I was at Mike Mo's house, at his next door neighbor, And we were like kicking it. I don't know if you guys remember Dirt Nasty. Like Dirt Nasty was there. We were kicking it, having a pool party. And I get this tweet because I had notifications turned on my phone. And I'm like, yo, Barrett just offered me a job at the barracks. And it just became a whole thing. But I remember going back and just talking to people and being like, hey, I think I'm actually gonna do this. I gave myself a deadline. And I was like, by the end of September, I'm leaving Kansas City and I'm on my way to LA. I left Kansas City September 29th, got to LA October 2nd, and started at the barracks January 1st, 2012. So I spent a lot of time with Barrett during those 3 months figuring out what it was that I could add value to at the barracks and how I could be of service, essentially. Had I not taken that seriously and not just been about the conversations and just like, yeah, I want to move to LA, I think I'm gonna do it, and actually was like, nah, I'm doing it, and then showed up, that was what really showed the people that I wanted to be surrounded by that I was serious and I meant the things that I said and I wasn't just all talk. And that's how I felt with that part of my life was I just got to jump. You know, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. I was comfortable in Kansas City. It was where I was born and raised. It was all I knew. I still rep it to this day. Like KC will always be home, but I knew if I wanted to experience something better for my life, I had to jump. And I'm so grateful that I did. Surfa wants to know, as a sneakerhead, what is your Grail that you own and the Grail you don't? Okay. I think I've gotten to the point in my sneakerheaddom that I don't hold these things on a pedestal the way that I used to. I used to really hold these things very high up, and I love it. I still have the passion for collecting and footwear and things like that. But when it comes to, I gotta have so my Grail that I have, and it actually moved on now, is the Nike SB Dunk High Uncle. It was the collaboration with Futura. A lot of people call it the Funkle because of that. That one was my Grail at one time, and I had it for numerous years, kept it in pristine shape, and I recently let it go and let it move on, because when I get to a certain point where I have too much or I have things that don't necessarily fit my aesthetic anymore, I know there's somebody out there that'll value it much more than I do. And I'm not a hoarder when it comes to collecting sneakers. I collect things that I enjoy and that I like, but I also know that there needs to be a revolving door. So that was a Grail that I owned that I, at one point, put on the highest pedestal. And I would say the one Grail that I don't own, to me, there's a lot of value in it because I actually had every single pair that went into creating this, would be the What the P-Rod. I didn't actually get a pair of What the P-Rods. I tried sneakers. I tried a few different raffles. I didn't get lucky, and I don't pay resale. So I just never got the chance to get a pair of those. You know, maybe later down the line, they'll fall into my lap for a reasonable price. If they make it to my presence, I'll be stoked, but if not, all good. SV Ryder wants to know, he says, I'm also 6'5". Hey, tall guy's doing it. What are some difficulties you had as an above average height rider, and do you have any advice for tall riders? Side note, more shoe companies need to make large shoe sizes. Finding size 16, god damn. Size 16 shoes is near impossible. Fucking yeah, I would say so. Finding size 16 anything shoes is damn near impossible. Sheesh. Difficulties I've had as an above average skateboarder would be above average height skateboarder. Let's get that right. Will be my back shit. Like the back issues, that just comes with the territory. I feel like anything that's high impact like that, and I wasn't always hucking. I definitely did my fair share of hucks, but I usually try to keep a pretty low impact. Nice ledge, nice manual pad was where you could find me majority of the time. But I do think that a lot of the explosions that come from skateboarding, it puts a toll on your hips. And then once your quads because we all have overactive quads, so once your quads start to pull, it pulls your hips forward. And then when you try and stand up straight, especially as a tall guy, everything kind of like curves in at the bottom and then goes up from there. So that was probably my biggest difficulty, I would say. And then in the early years, it was hard to find skateboard decks that were wide enough. I think once that trend of riding big boards sort of became a thing, it wasn't as difficult. But that was early on. Like I remember I was probably like 15. I think at that time I was probably already wearing a size 14, either 13 or 14. and I was riding like 775 boards, like goofiest looking shit, but that was what was available. Some like it's not, quite the name. They want to know favorite thing about the Midwest. Ooh, how much time you got, buddy? Nah. Favorite thing about the Midwest is that it's home. You know, there's no place like home, as they say. Getting to go back home and see the homies that I grew up with when I was, 15, 16, 17, and we get to go back to the same old bars and we get to shoot the shit and talk about the old days at the Dunn House and, just all those moments of just real life and growing up and creating memories and being able to just go back and even if you don't feel it because everybody's older now and people aren't necessarily living the same lives, like homies got kids, people are married, they got real jobs, like it's a completely different lifestyle, but the landscape still remains the same and you get to still feel that energy. And that's something that I appreciate about the Midwest more than anything. It's that it reminds you to be humble. It's a whole different reality that I love, I enjoy, I appreciate. I don't necessarily have a desire to go back to living that lifestyle, but I appreciate it for what it's worth and I appreciate it for what it has allowed me to be and the moral compass that it gave me. T-Sugar, what is one of your favorite skate memories of growing up in the Midwest? And how do you think that environment uniquely shapes skateboarders differently than other places? Rewind the tape and just kind of go back to that shit real quick. But one of my favorite skate memories, it's just got to be the whole Dunn House era. I think we had such a moment in time. And the dopest part about it to me is that at that time in my life, I didn't drink, but I was always there. I was always the homie. Like I was a DD for many years. Like I even drove the Pretty Sweet van when they came out and wanted to go to the bars and all that. So like I was in the mix and I was the homie, but I wasn't just getting wasted. So I have so many memories and I have so many photos that I took during those parties and during those times where I get to go back and bring those back up to my other homies. Like I got a group chat now where I'm always just sending old photos of homies talking about, you remember when we used to make wizard staffs in KC? And like, yep, got it. And you're just being able to go back to that. But the Dunn House was, it was 3700 Walnut, Midtown, Kansas City. It was like the focal point for everybody. It was the meetup spot. It was a skate house. The thing about it too is that we had Malto, and Malto was just fucking red hot on fire. So every time people came through, they wanted to party at the Dunn House. They wanted to come kick it with the crew. And I'm just thankful that I got to be a part of that shit too. Like, let me backtrack and say, I don't want to say that I was monumental in any of that shit. I was just a homie that got to be a part of it and got to live it and got to experience it. And I'm so thankful that I did. But the Dunn House era was the illest time in Kansas City skateboarding, period. Hey, my boy Stumps. Stumps wants to know, Stumpy Mason, what does an ideal day look like for Steezus? An ideal day for me, I wake up, let's say I wake up at like 7 on an ideal day. Wake up at 7, do my journaling, my little morning meditations and whatnot, and then I will walk my dog. I have a 14-year-old Yorkie. He's my best little homie. Walk him, get him all situated, and then probably, I'm thinking on like a Saturday, so probably try and figure out what I'm gonna eat. My favorite food of all time, breakfast burritos. I could eat those morning, noon, and night. Doesn't matter the setting, doesn't matter the occasion. Give me a breakfast burrito, I'm fucking content. So probably try and hunt down a breakfast burrito, go fucking house that real quick, and then go back to the crib, clean up. Something that I've really started to enjoy as an adult, which I never ever in my life thought that I would enjoy, is cleaning. Not only is it like dope to have a clean spot at all times, but it's like low-key therapeutic. I get to zone out, put on some music, put on a podcast, whatever, and probably hit the gym for a little bit, go back home, eat, wash myself. I'm probably, on God, gonna hop on Warzone with the bros for like a smooth 6-hour session. Like that to me on an ideal day, and I'll probably like scroll TikTok for an hour or two. That I got to get that in there. That's just in me. It's just a part of my life now. But yeah, hopping on Warzone with the bros, my guy Chiefin, Fatal Dreidel, my boy 20, like we got an ill little squad. So if y'all ever trying to run something, let me know. But that's probably my ideal day. And then I might make myself a little adult beverage, wind down for the night after that and watch some YouTube videos. Like that's an ill Saturday for me. Just having my me time, my breakfast burrito, getting a lift, probably eating some more chicken after my lift, and Call of Duty. That's like a fucking perfect day for me. Mer, capital M-E-R, wants to know, what is your top 3 go-to skate shoes? Right now, I would say my number 1 is just a pair of white on white Vans Authentics. The board feel obviously is insane in that shoe, but it's such a low profile shoe that there's not a lot to it. And I'm not flipping my board crazy like I used to. Honestly, I'm pushing. That's really what it comes down to. So that's a great shoe for pushing. I would say the Nike SB Dunk would be number 2. That one's obviously just iconic. And then number 3, it would be the Adidas Samba. Something about that shoe's silhouette, the way like the tongue has the groove, so it works perfectly with your the front of your shin, the little toe cap that comes around. Like it's a really good shoe. Obviously, it's got football inspiration, but it's a really good shoe for skating too. Super low profile, and that little toe area is really good for flick and whatnot. So I would have to go with that one as number 3. Bodie Bruh, I'm not sure how you say that. What 3 artists are you currently listening to? That's a really good question. I'm such a music head that picking 3 off top is very, very difficult. But people that I've been like really listening to heavily lately, just because I think I recently rediscovered how ill they were. One would be Young Dolph. Another one, gone too soon, would be Juice WRLD. I've been listening to a lot of Juice lately. And then I've recently been listening to Rod Wave. Rod Wave just dropped his most recent album. Those would be 3 of mine right now. And then you got other like Blast, who's a LA R&B artist. And then you got your mainstream stuff like like Migos and that type of shit. So I'm all over the board, but then I'm also like so far left too, where it's just, if you looked at my Spotify playlist, it would be bonkers. But those are the ones I can give right now. Monkey D. Luffy wants to know, I live in KC. Where's your favorite spot to skate? And do you wish more people skate KC spots for video parts? Because I do. So my favorite spots in KC aren't there anymore. That's another thing too. There was a spot in KC, it was called Energy Park. So that was probably one of my favorite KC spots. And then another favorite that I never skated, but I loved seeing in skate videos, kind of like what you said, was Brass Gap. It was the gap to rail. In the end, Andrew Reynolds does kickflip frontside lip slide. And I want to say, yeah, right, Costin does kickflip backlip. So that was one that it was just our KC spot. And when people came and destroyed it like that, that was really, really fun to see. And then Barney Alice Plaza was another one. The big slant, people would always skate that. You down with PJC? What up, big dog? You referenced your day job on the show. I don't think it's in the skate industry. Is your ultimate goal to be fully in the skate business, or do you prefer having part of your career outside of the biz? My ultimate goal is not to be fully in the skate business, if I'm being completely transparent. Don't get me wrong, I love being a part of skateboarding and having my foot in the door and being respected in some capacity. So I'm never turning my back on that whatsoever. But on the flip side of that coin, I'm almost 37 years old and I have to provide for myself. I live a lifestyle that I've created for myself that I enjoy and that I want to maintain. And unless you're in a certain percentage in skateboarding, you can't live that way. It's very difficult to make a lot of money in skateboarding, and that's not what the goal should be. So there's both ends of that. I want to live a certain lifestyle, and I also want to be involved in skateboarding, but I don't want to only take and try and, run it dry, because that's not what the love is for me. I come and I get to be a part of the 9 Club experience because I genuinely love skateboarding. I've been skating since the 90s. It's been a part of my foundation. It's the reason why I'm in LA now. So getting to be a part of it and have that opportunity to even be included in the conversation is enough for me. I'm beyond thrilled with what I've had and what I've gotten to accomplish. So for me, having a real job outside of this to maintain a certain lifestyle doesn't bother me. That's life. I think that just comes with maturity and understanding what it takes to just to live. Jehovah Jr. This is actually the question I thought was going to pop up first. It said, where did your nickname come from? And alternatively, anyone from KC we need to be aware of right now? So the nickname question, I legitimately thought this was going to be the first one. It's not even really like a dope story, but the way that it became my name in skateboarding is kind of cool. But name came from me and a homie going back and forth on Twitter, just like roasting each other, roasting people, talking shit. And when I grew up skating in KC, I was always the dude that kept the extra shirt, extra pair of shoes, like an extra hat. So after the session, normally we would go eat or we would go do something, whatever. I didn't like being a sweaty, grungy skateboarder. Like I always wanted to be fresh. My Steezus was always on point. So we're going back and forth and he called me. He was like, Steezus Christ, something, chill out, whatever. And I had never heard that before. And I was like, yo, I'm about to change all my handles. Like this is about to be my name. I'm running with it, like whatever. So boom, do that, come out here, backtrack to that story of hanging out with Mike Mo and all that. I think this was actually the first time I came out and stayed with Mo. Twitter was just a thing. We were always talking about Twitter. We were always tweeting. We were always just like doing dumb shit. And he was the first person to call me Steezus in real life. Then that just kind of like grew and that's what people started to know me as. And then when I moved out here, that was what Chase put down. I think it was the first thing I ever did on the barracks was the First Try Friday with P-Rod. And then they put my title as First Try Fridays with Steezus Christ. And then it just went off from there. So that was like where it started. But that's the thing too. It worked in my favor because had I come out here and they just like put my government name or whatever, nobody knew who I was outside of the industry. So I think it also gave me a little bit of a personality to run with on the barracks and develop and create my own sort of persona within the industry so people could digest it a little bit easier. Because to this day, I still get a shit ton of hate, but I got so much hate when I first started popping up on the barracks because nobody knew who the fuck I was. They were like, who's this dude? Is he a fucking rapper? What's he doing? Get him out. He doesn't even skate, this, that, and the third. So I had to like climb out of this hole, solidify the ground, let people know like who I am, what I'm about, where I'm from. I can actually skate, like all those things. So being able to do that as like a character was a little easier, I suppose. So that was, shout out to Mike Mo. Shout out to Mike Mo for like basically creating Steezus IRL. And then anybody from KC you need to be aware of. Man, I've been gone for so long that it's hard to really know like the young up-and-comers. But there is a dude by the name of Sean McKay. He's like on a different level where I would put him in the same category as Ryan Pierce, who also is another KC legend. Those two have a different way of skating and it's something like you never see before. They have a very fluid way of understanding how to make certain things work and also make certain things look good. And Sean's also a fairly tall skater too. So I think Sean McKay is somebody that you guys need to pay attention to. And then obviously the OG legend, Ryan Pierce. He's been in the game for years, did his thing in the industry for a bit, wasn't feeling it, and just wanted to skate for fun. And he's always been someone who has held the crown for skateboarding in Kansas City, and I think he's passed the torch a little bit to Sean McKay. So that would be my vote. And anybody, just look up Escapists. Anybody on the Escapist roster is who you need to pay attention to out of KC. Like, they hold it down for sure. All right, y'all, we have come to the end. I want to say thank you so much to everybody that asked questions in the Discord. If you're not in our Discord, make sure you hit the link down in the description, join up. We'll be doing a lot of these. This is really fun, but I do appreciate you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for all the love. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for all the hate, however it feels. If you have hate in your heart, let it out. I appreciate each and every last one of y'all. And again, this is your boy Steezus, signing out. Peace.